Hello! Today we are building some miniature worlds inside of books. My name is Vera, I am a professional set builder, and today we are going tiny. The plan is to make some miniature world inside of books. I give creative workshops, and one of them is actually this, making those miniature worlds. But I still have to develop this workshop, so I thought maybe it would be a great plan for today's video. Main reason why this is a great plan is because I need to force myself to sit down the entire time. Last weekend, I went on to demolition the house of my sister, and it went very well. A stone windowsill actually fell on top of my foot. Thank goodness nothing is broken and the damage is mild, like really truly mild. And I am super grateful for that. Always wear the proper protection when working because I don't think my foot would have survived this without any safety shoes. So I'm really grateful that I thought of wearing those. It also means that for the project that I was planning to do for this video, it's just not going to happen. So I am pivoting to something small, really small. We are making a couple of miniature worlds inside of books. I'm super excited to get going, so let me tell you the plan. I bought these books a little bit ago, and the goal of these books is to become something different. They're all secondhand, they are very well loved, and I don't think anyone has read these in a while, which is why I thought it would be a good idea to give them a little bit of a second life. We're upcycling them to have little worlds inside of their pages. If you open this, you get to see some sort of diorama or scene, or maybe plants, or I still need to figure that out. If you have read any of these books, please let me know, and please tell me if they're good, because I love reading, but I'm not going to do that with these. I'm gonna wreck these. These are gonna be gone. These stories are not gonna be legible anymore at the end of this. Now, before you get mad, these are secondhand and they are very well loved by previous owners. I do think that they deserve a spot in a bookcase. And I think that spot is not necessarily to read them, but maybe just to be there as a little piece of art. Now let's see what we can come up with. I made a couple of different plans and designs, and I think everything is going to be slightly different from each other, which is really nice. This one is the one I'm going to start with. I decided on a Roman villa encampment that you can see from the side as well as from the inside. So I think that's going to be really fun. So I'm going to get my things together and then it's starting time. I think probably the biggest challenge about sitting down in my workshop is that I put all my stuff and tools and workbenches on standing height. So getting my stuff was actually not that easy. Luckily, I did manage to get all my stuff together and I started on my first book. Now, the Roman villa, I wanted to be in some sort of a landscape. So that's the shapes that I'm first tracing with a Sharpie. Now, I think I should have used a pencil for this because on the edges you can still sometimes see the black, but I didn't know that yet. So for this first one, I'm just accepting that there is going to be a little bit of black left. Now, the thing that I did not expect was that this was actually a really difficult process. Getting all the shapes exactly the way that I wanted it, getting all the lines straight, and even cutting through the paper, it was actually really tough doing that. I truly did not expect any part of this project to be tough, so that there actually was something that was quite difficult, that was a big surprise to me. But I did manage to do it, and in the first book, I cut through all the way to the other side. Then I clamped it together, and while the glue is drying, I am making some houses out of a piece of wood, and I'm making some trees out of a leftover piece of fake tree. Then I'm putting everything inside, and because this is a little landscape, I decide to use some of my leftover miniature grass to flock the entire area. I possibly should have done this when the houses were not in, but I do feel like this is actually working out really, really fantastically. After the grass, I am painting all the trees and I am painting a little blue sky, because if we're talking Roman, I'm thinking Italy, and if I'm thinking Italy, I'm thinking sunny and blue skies and green grass and hills. The final step for this book is actually adding some roofing to the houses, and I do that with a paint pen going over each of the houses in 2 different tints of brown. And then because of the black line on the side of the book, I decide to put some red on the outside as well. This has to do with the top of the book, which also already has a red color. Then it's already time for my second book, and for this one I'm going very different, because this one is going to be a flower vase. Now, I want to create a vase out of the pages of the book, so I'm cutting them in half and then I am curling up the pages and sticking them together with some glue to create a vase type of situation. Then with the leftover pieces of paper, I will be creating the flowers. So I am using several different techniques to create different types of petals and sticking them together to create a couple of different variations. And then with some really weird metally wiry pieces that I had lying around somewhere, I decided to make a couple of colorful flowers just to add some color, and just because I thought they looked a little bit like flower stems. I had a little bit of complicated feelings about cutting up books. I have never done such a thing before, and I've always protected how my books look. So I don't know, the first cut was a little bit harrowing. So I just really like the process. It's ruining something to then build it up again and make it into something pretty. So I like that. I absolutely love that this book actually gives this world to go into. Whether you look at it from the side or you look at it from the front, it's just really nice, even though it's not perfect, but I like it so much. This is a great first attempt. The second attempt, I feel, is less great. I really like this flower, the one with the yellow inside, but the other flowers, I don't know. I don't have a connection to flowers. I've never had a connection to flowers, and I don't know. Somehow it's not really vibing with me, but I do kind of like it. I'm just gonna keep it at this, and maybe I'll circle back to this one once I've made the other ones. And the other ones I am so excited to get started on. I'm making 2 similar to the Roman one. One of them has birds flying around and the other one has kind of a window that you look into, like a lion's den. And then the last one I want to make in a little apothecary kind of book. I think that's going to be so fun that you open it and it has shelves full of stuff. I do feel like that one is probably going to take the most amount of time, so I'm probably going to keep that one to last. I think it's time for me to get started on the one with the birds. On the cover of the third book, there's actually a flying swallow, which made the design for this book actually quite easy to figure out. I decided on a swarm of swallows flying through a very easy landscape. And with this book, I wanted to experiment quite a lot. The main thing that I wanted to figure out is how deep you actually need to go to get this really nice layered effect. So for this one, I just went in with my X-Acto knife, tracing the shapes that I drew out, and then I started on layering those shapes. I do think that I made a little bit of an error in how deep I actually went with this one. I misjudged how deep my layers could go, and because my layers had quite big shapes on it, I just at some point needed to stop carving, and it caused my book to not go as deep as I maybe should have gotten it to get this really cool layered effect. Instead, I have gotten a slightly layered effect, and it could work, but for this one, I don't really think it does. It just gives a little bit of imperfection. And I don't mind imperfection, I like going with it, but the imperfection just kept on stacking, so I'm here cutting out the birds, but because I had a little bit of a blunt knife, I didn't really get the nice shape that I wanted, but I went with it anyway because I knew I would be painting some black on it to get the birds better. So this is how it finally turned out. I think it could have been better, but I decided to just keep the imperfections going and continue to the next one. And this one I am super excited about because I already knew from the start what I wanted to do with this one. The book is called The Lion Sleeps, and I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to make a jungle scene. I also know that for this book, I want to only use the paper of the books together with maybe some paint, which is very different than the last ones because the last ones I actually for each one used at least something that is not part of the book that I cut down. So for this one, I'm only using the pages, and I think that's really pretty exciting. I love experimenting in this way and giving myself restrictions to figure out what works and what doesn't for a workshop. In the end, I started painting some of the pages that I cut out green to make beautiful leaves when it's dry. Okay, this is so fun. It is so whimsical, and I love that these old books that would have probably been thrown away just get a new chance to shine. It's a lot of work to cut out the pages, and they're not going to be perfect. My knife gets dulled really quickly when cutting through paper, and normally that wouldn't be a problem. But all my stuff, including my sharpener, is currently at my sister's house where the demolition is going on. So I don't have my sharpener, and that means that there is a dull knife. And that means that I have to put a lot of strength and a lot of force into making cuts. I don't think that's beneficial for my hands. I currently am creating a blister on my finger because I have to cut down the pages. So even though I have a really thick book for the jungle, I have decided to go less deep than the full book just to save my fingers, basically. I wanted to go deeper than the one that I have here because this one, it doesn't give enough depth. So what I did is I created this circle pattern to go stepwise deeper, I guess. It goes deeper. Now my idea is actually to have all sorts of leaves and flowers sticking out of every page and also going across and then adding some animals and whimsicals. All of it I want to do with the paper of this book. I will have a little jungle. They're pretty cool. And I'm not even done yet. Let's start working on this one. My green pages have dried, so I start by cutting down some leaves and some plants and some greenery, all so that I can start putting together my jungle scene. The first time I'm putting this together, I'm doing it without glue, just so that I can see if I like where all my leaves are or if I need to change something. Now, this is a little bit of a process, but I did see that I missed something, and that was some color. So I am making some flowers in yellow and in purple and pink. And because I was using pink and purple, I feel like I was channeling my darling niece. And for her, I decided to go a little bit childish on the style for the animals. And I actually really like how they turned out. They're really fun and they're a really colorful addition to my pages, which is actually something that this jungle really could use. So I'm really happy with them. And then I take them out and I start gluing everything in. And this is actually probably the most difficult process because I didn't really want to take all the leaves out after I got the perfect position for them. So I just go around them and underneath them, and I try to stack a couple of them between the pages, and then I glue them up, and somehow it worked out great. And then I add the animals, and I know that in the wild they would not go together, but in my book they absolutely do. I also added a couple of frogs and a couple of butterflies, and that is just so that when people come to my workshop they'll have a little bit of a treasure hunt to do, which I actually really like. Then I get started on my final book, and I am so excited and also kind of sad that this project is now almost over. I just had a lot of fun working on all of these. So for this one, I cut out all the pages and then I do the glue up. I am so excited about how these four already look. I'm currently working on the last book, the last one. is now looking like this. I glued up all the edges to make sure that I have a nice surface to work with. That one is going to be the most elaborate, and that one is going to be an apothecary shelf, bookcase kind of situation. While this one is drying and hardening out, I will be making lots of tiny things to put on the shelves. And I think that's going to be really nice. The one thing that I for sure want to add is a little cat. I want to add potion bottles, parchment, maybe a couple of plants. I want to go all out with decoration, and I will be making them out of partly paper, partly just whatever I have lying around. I'm gonna get started on making the small things, and I'm so excited. For my final book, I am not bound by any rules, so I get all sorts of materials together and I start on making all sorts of small details. Starting with a cat out of clay, and the first attempt really didn't go that great, so I decided to make a second one, which still looks a little bit wonky, but I kinda like her wonk. So I add her tail and put her in the oven to harden out. And while she is in the oven, I am creating all the different details. So I'm starting with potion bottles that I make out of different beads that I stack together, and then I'm continuing with some plants by putting some moss through some buttons. Then I make some parchments out of pieces of paper that are left over from the pages and rolling them up with a nice bow. And then of course my cat is ready to get painted. I paint her black and give her some beaded eyes, which are actually really creepy. And then it's time for the final assembly. I really do think that the final assembly in any project is always my favorite part. I really do love thinking about the details and being in a project, but with the final assembly you can see the finish line and you can see how things start to come to life. And this one was just the same. This book just started to come alive with all the little trinkets on all of the little shelves, and I just really love how this one turned out. It's so fun! It's so fun! I loved making these books into art and little dioramas, and I don't know, I think they turned out really great. They're all very different from each other, which is really cool because that's exactly what I needed for my creative workshops. And honestly, I feel like each and every one of these has something special. I think currently this one might be my favorite, but I don't know. I actually don't know. So please let me know in the comments which one is yours, or a project that I pivoted to and did not prepare for all that much. I think this turned out great, and I feel like I experimented. I feel like these are now ready to be the best books that they could have been. I might have given these books a better purpose than they would have had, because in the secondhand store they probably would have been thrown out. Making them into little pieces of art that I would enjoy to have on my shelf or that I can use as examples for my creative workshop, I feel like that is probably a better use. And yes, it did hurt. It did hurt to cut into the first one, and then it got easier. This was an idea that I had for quite a while, and I'm really happy that I got to do it, especially while sitting down. Although I'm not really good at sitting down, so I might not have really made that. Honestly, I feel like these books are just a really fun time, and I don't see them as big pieces of art, but they do give a little bit of whimsy, and I think that is really nice about these. My main business is not creative workshops, but I really thoroughly enjoy the experimentation that comes from making a creative workshop. Now, this one I am developing because I have contact with a library where I might give this one together with 2 other ones that are book-based. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I don't know, if you want to book it in the meantime, be sure to check out my site. I'm based in the Netherlands, so feel free to send me a message. I'd love to have you. Now I think it's finally time to see how these turned out. I love the little cat. so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed making. And if you did, please feel free to subscribe, like, comment, all the things. Maybe you have an idea of what you would make inside of a book. So please let me know, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Let me get it. No. It fell.